how's it going, everybody? So, I checked out their stats because I was curious about, they say black women are the most educated, or black women are the highest enrolled. I was just curious about that stat, like what exactly does that mean? So for one thing I learned in stats, for one, is that an uneducated white woman will become more desired and married than an educated black woman. Another thing I learned, another stat, women in general, both black and white and probably other races, are becoming much more educated than their male counterparts. I found that to be pretty interesting. And so therefore the dynamics of wives being more dominant in terms of education, more educated, is a higher rate. Another thing, an uneducated white man, or rather a white man with no degree, will make more money than a black man with a degree. That surprised me. It surprised me a lot, actually. People say, oh, just directly correlated because, getting a degree is terribly helpful. But, yeah. A white man getting a degree, he'll make it exponentially a lot more than a white man without a degree. But that's still wild that if you're a black man with a degree, you have a lower chance of making more money than a white man without a degree. Surprising, but I'm not surprised because of the biases we have in America. It's sad, but it's to be expected. Oh yeah, another stat about black women not really liking black men with a degree, like they just don't find them up to standard with the same degree. They have they essentially hypergamy. They view black men, the desired black men, to have a more higher standards than them. And so that makes perfect sense because since black women are typically higher hypergamous, they look for higher standards in men. So given that they look for higher standards in men, and the uneducated, no mind you, uneducated women are less desirable than black men, but it's still interesting that uneducated white women will get more attention. Since black women are so hypergamous, they're looking for higher standards. And their higher standards and lack of education are what we describe as the Pookie Ray Ray archetype. It's essentially a dude who got terribly good game. He don't really make a lot of money. He typically gets this woman, whether she's educated or not, to provide for him. And he's terribly good at sex. It's like he excels in certain things, but that, and I think that's his own issue. But he just comes out as the male that's most desired. He's essentially the top dog in the black community. And I've seen they get women, and it sort of don't even matter if she white. These dudes get women. They know how to get women. They're just, in terms of like dating and stuff, they're like masters at dating. They're masters at talking to women, trying to get them to sleep with them, all that stuff. Just terribly good at it. And it sucks, but maybe that's the few skills they got. And typically, the Pookie archetype, they do some illegals. So those are one of the archetypes that black women are typically attracted to for those reasons. Another archetype are the entertainers, the rappers, the high status black male, for everybody. They're high status toward everyone. Now mind you, let me bring up another stat. They had a stat, I'm not sure which university, but they had a stat for the male and the female, where the male, they checked the brain in terms of attraction, and they showed that if a male is not attracted to a woman, there's parts in their brain that emulates irritation. Now, we compare that to a woman who looks at a man they're not attracted to, and they find those males non-existent. Non-existent. You hear that? Non-existent. They're not on their radar. They don't see them. They don't exist. So, given what we know about that they don't exist on their radar. So all they see are high value men and top G's and stuff like that. All they see, and again, I just mentioned it just for a word for nomenclature. All right, another archetype of the Pookie is, of the Ray Ray, is that they're not really good providers. They're not, well, maybe they are good providers, but they're not good fathers like that. Because they have so many options, they tend to cheat. You know, it's like going to a buffet and the average man just goes for one meal. You know, it's like, why not try a little bit of everything? I'm just thinking about it logically. I'm just trying to understand them. I don't advocate for polygamy or anything like that. I'm just telling you based on what I've understood about these characters. It's not, this don't just apply to black women, it's apply to women in general. But if these women only see these archetypes and they don't see anybody else, and they get played by these men, if they are constantly being exposed and that's all they see are the 20%, 10%, 20%, and they see these people, what can we say about these women when they start getting upset and they say all men are trash? If women only see high value men and they don't see anybody else, well, all men are all the men that you notice. There's like a whole gang of people, and they say that men are just like the average 80%, or the average of men are below average, and they're saying the average of men is just like, that's below average. So you're saying most men are below average, and you only see the high value hot guy, and that dude happens to be a cheater, and some of them happen to be manipulators, and some of them have a lot of options, and that's all you're looking at, and you say all men are trash. Women need to be socialized better, socialized out of this system then, because that's terrible. Just consider that. It's awful. It's terrible. You have a more, how can I say, polarizing dynamic in terms of dating. So I seen this video with Jordan Peterson. I get it. I don't agree with everything Jordan Peterson says, but some of the stuff he says is just pretty on point. It just makes sense. He says if a culture is more polygamous, culture's more polygamous, then it gets more violent, and that makes sense. You check out some of these animal kingdoms, you know, you start noticing like lions and stuff like that, chimpanzees and stuff. And again, I'm not making that correlation. They scare off all the other men. They collect all the women for themselves and they scare the other men away. I'm like, coincidentally, I feel like I've seen that before. If you're the more dominant male and getting the most women, and most women aren't being gotten, but they're sharing themselves among these top dudes, and dudes are not getting women, what are they gonna do? Besides those fringe dudes who take their frustration out on humanity and like commit these actions, these violent actions, what are they gonna do? They're gonna do all types of stuff. Some are gonna leave. Some are gonna try to find different tribes to get to by cultural exchange. So these men, they become high value men in other places. It's pretty interesting.